All right, so now I've got the pig opened up a little bit more. And if we move the heart out of the way on this side, then you can see down here the left lung only having two lobes, one lobe here, one lobe here, because the heart is taking up so much space. The heart is on the left side of your body because, oh, careful, whatever you do, don't drop the scalpel on your toe. It would make for a very bad day. All right, so I'm going to cut around the umbilical cord to expose the abdominal cavity. And I'm just going to cut along the side here. So again, just cutting through skin, connective tissue. This particularly strong muscle right here that I've cut through is the diaphragm. So this is the muscle that will expand and contract in order to make your lungs expand and contract. And so this diaphragm is a particularly strong muscle because that is the muscle that you use to breathe. I'm just going to have to do a little more shaving of the diaphragm in order to open up this abdominal cavity. All right, so now we've got a really opened up pig and we can start to look at some structures. First thing I'm going to call your attention to is this. The largest organ inside the pig, at least in terms of mass, is the liver. So this is the pig's liver. It's situated a little more to the left than it is to the right. Yeah, a little more to the right than it is to the left. Sorry, I'm getting turned around looking at the video and the pig. So the liver normally sits over here. It's actually why the heart sits a little bit to the left, is because the liver is so large and it sits a little to the right. Tucked under the liver is this pig's stomach. So right here, this more squishy, looks like a bag that is semi-filled with some digestive juices, though because this pig was still fetal, it hadn't yet been born, and so it hasn't eaten anything yet, and so these are really just digestive juices, plus probably a significant amount of preservative that this pig's been soaked in. So here's the pig's stomach. Liver is actually, I'll take a little piece off, is a particularly grainy organ, so you have to actually be really careful when you're dissecting to not destroy it. We're obviously just going to cut a little piece of a lobe off. And then if I kind of rub it in my fingers for a second, you can see that the liver, I guess you can't really see, but I can feel that it's really grainy, like it almost feels like sand as I rub it in my fingers. And so the liver, particularly grainy, really hyper-regenerative organ. You can slice off some of your liver and donate it, and that liver will regrow itself to the point where it's perfectly functional for you and another person. So you can take an entire lobe of a liver and donate it if a person needs a liver. Okay, underneath the stomach, there's a tiny little flap of an organ right here. This tiny little flap of the organ is this subject's spleen. So it's found just below the liver. Spleen is a filter for blood. A lot of the pathogens that this pig will get exposed to would get filtered out in this pig's spleen as the blood moves through it. So spleen, really valuable organ, especially in the immune system. Underneath the liver, you'll notice the gallbladder. So the gallbladder, it's embedded in tissue right along the liver here. This gallbladder, the liver's job as far as the digestive system is concerned is creating bile. The gallbladder stores that bile and condenses it to then dump into the stomach through this bile duct that I'm running my probe underneath. So this little duct right here is a tube that enters into the stomach to transport the bile that was created in the liver. From the stomach dumps its contents into the small intestine. The small intestine is all of this mesh over here on this side. Let's see if I can separate it from the large intestine. Large intestine is just right here, sort of curves back and around, much smaller than the small intestine. The small intestine takes up all this space. The small intestine is decidedly softer and more malleable than this large intestine. This large intestine is embedded in a lot of mesentery, so a lot of connective tissue holding it together really tightly. And so it's very firm and not particularly yielding when I push on it with the probe. But the small intestine is incredibly yielding and feels like I could easily manipulate it, squeeze it, anything I want with that. So very free-flowing small intestine, very rigid and fixed large intestine. Other things of note will be the kidneys. I have to drain this pig a little bit in order to see the kidneys. Also, the kidneys will require a few more cuts. So I've really gotta drain the pig. And then we'll do this side. So I'm not sure if you can see it in the camera, but there's a bulge right here. This bulge is actually the kidney. And so what we'll do right now is we'll cut away the connective tissue that is holding this kidney in place. Really carefully. Let's see if I can just lift it away to reveal kidney. There we are. So now you get a good look at the kidney. Kidney also a filtering organ. Kidneys filter the fluid that comes into your body. Yeah, there we go. Nice look at the kidney. Any fluid that gets filtered out by the kidneys gets processed and put back into your system. The kidneys, anything that is meant to be excreted, any waste, kidneys will connect to your bladder. Bladder connects to your urethra, and then you pee out your urethra. So here's a kidney, another pretty hyper-filtrated organ. So very much like the liver, the kidney would feel pretty gritty as I rub it in between my fingers, just because of all of the different nephrons and filters, basically, that are inside the kidney. So that is a fairly complete look at the internal anatomy of this pig. We've got the umbilical cord here. Inside the umbilical cord, it might actually be harder to see inside than it is this way. This way you can see these two arteries and this one vein. This is how oxygenated blood goes to the pig from its mother, and deoxygenated blood and nutrient deficient blood goes back to the mom. The mom eats and breathes, oxygenates and nutriates her blood, and sends it back to her baby. Same exact way human beings do it. Let's see, I think we've already externally sexed this pig, so there we are. Internal anatomy of a pig. All right, hope you enjoyed this dissection. We'll see you all in class.